from my mouth.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Everybody has something they're a softie on. Everybody has something they're a hard ass on. That's how it works, I guess. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Oh. Woo. Welcome to Game of Nodes, the perennially popular, perennially punctual validator podcast, coming to you from 3 independent validator teams this week. Goodness knows I have gotten out of the habit of doing the intro in a consistent and concise format. How are we doing, fellas?
Doing not so bad. So, the markets are looking good. That's always good for the vibe.
the vibes are accelerating.
Yeah. Trump's in. Fuck yeah.
Let's buy some shit.
It's the end of the free world.
Elon's sorting out government efficiency. We're all going to be billionaires.
Yeah. Did you catch the acronym on that?
Yeah. The Doge.
Doge. Yeah, it's Doge, isn't it? Fuck.
Yeah.
Of course,
where we are.
This is where we are. This is fine. This is cool. It's going to be okay. So I saw a thing. It was. I think it was literally on r/low stakes conspiracy theories. It's a subreddit, as the name suggests, devoted to low stakes conspiracy theories. Although I think this one is kind of potentially higher stakes because it affects all of us. But anyway, the low stakes conspiracy theory was just like, oh yeah, well, Elon backs Trump, get Trump in. Elon gets like the sort everything out thing from Trump. He fucks it deliberately because Elon's crazy, but he's not stupid, right? But he is crazy, but he's not stupid, right? Important difference, right? Important distinction. Like the Unabomber guy, right? Crazy. Not
the
stupid.
Unabomber guy.
Yeah, exactly. In a lot of ways, Elon Musk is like the Unabomber.
Two examples of that. It's just either Elon or the Unabomber guy.
So yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd probably be the Unabomber rather than Elon. But that's a whole other thing. Anyway, don't quote that in my trial. Anyway, the whole the low stakes conspiracy theory. I haven't been posting anything, least of all bombs. Anyway, the low stakes conspiracy theory is this, which is Elon gets the position, influences enough people to fuck everything up, fucks up the economy, amazing, starts a voluntary recession via government policy. And to be honest, just keeps egging Trump on about the tariffs, right, which inevitably will lead to inflation, probably a recession of some kind, potentially worse. And what you typically see in recessions and depressions is that existing wealth concentrates, right? So rich people get richer. It's like a classic thing. And usually government stimuluses do the same thing when they're kind of applied on a flat basis because the money accumulates into wealth, accumulates into hands of people who've already got some. And Elon very much stands to benefit from that. So anyway, that's the low stakes conspiracy theory. Is the whole thing is just a long scam to basically get the US government to at some point have to respond to a recession they've created with quantitative easing in the next 5 years and dilute other people's money and accumulate some into Papa Elon's pocket.
Papa Elon don't need no more cash. He's flush.
I mean, he's pretty flush, right? But maybe this is the thing. Maybe that's what he wants you to think. He's got enough. Why would he need more? Turns out he needs more. Anyway,
how can someone so fucking busy, mind you, this guy's got 10 fucking kids?
He's got a few.
Yeah. How can he have, a good deck of companies, 10 fucking kids whose names are hard to pronounce, and then now be working for a department of the government? Where in the fuck is he going to find this time? Is this why he's such a good candidate for it? Because he's efficiency?
Well, because I imagine he does everything relatively poorly, and the things that he doesn't do poorly, he's already delegated to people who are competent, right?
He's a tweet here from Elon Musk: Department of Government Efficiency. The merch will be fire with 3 fires.
What a fucking insane man.
Is he
The government
Uh,
department with merch. What a fucking joke. Anyway, yeah, I mean, he's also seems to spend like 95% of his time just on Twitter, refreshing Twitter, tweeting. So the idea that he's going to
telling
do
me you don't?
anything other than making noise is doubtful. But it does remind me a little bit of that old thing. There's a classic book called classic. I think it was actually an academic textbook potentially, but it's a classic study. It's been mentioned on the podo before, called Moral Mazes. It was Aaron Schwartz's favorite book, which is another reason why it became a little bit famous when he killed himself. Dark, sorry, trigger warning, whatever. And it's about essentially like how corporate organizational structures work themselves out, like what kind of things happen in them, and what people do all day, what people fucking do all day, right? And the studies were done in like the tail end of the 70s, I think early 80s. And like one of the interesting things is a lot of people who are in the office don't actually fucking do much all day. Like, excellent, right? They don't fucking do much all day. They just kind of basically talk. They basically just do all the social stuff, and like that's actually like, or they read the paper. They talk about, the stocks and shit. Like even people who are like bankers or whatever and have these like insane jobs, but they've got to work 12 hours. Like the actual amount of hours on the job is like 4 to 5. It's the same number of hours that somebody would do if they worked 9 to 5, right? If not less. It's just that there's more fluff around the job. And I kind of like look at somebody like Elon and I think about that a little bit. And I'm like, he spends a fucking lot of time on Twitter doing fuck all.
Mm-hmm.
But he probably is like, I'm the busiest fucking guy in the universe. It's like, well, you are on Twitter for your entire working day. And you probably only look up from Twitter to shout at your PA. That's literally everything else. But hey, fuck it. That's delegating, right? When you're rich as fuck, that's probably what people do. I mean, plenty of people,
so.
They have a staff. They'll have Elon probably has a bigger staff than Trump does because he's a richer guy.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe he's just got a really dribbly ass and spends a lot of time on the dunny. What else are you gonna do?
And that's why he bought Twitter.
Yeah.
So he's got something to look at.
Yeah. Fun story, actually, getting off topic. So while I was asleep last night, actually, I don't know, Serp, do you know about the side project? It's like ping.pubs thing to do with Bitcoin staking. No? Not heard of it?
I don't know if I've heard a couple different things related to Bitcoin staking, but I'm not sure if I know the ping.pub one.
It's called Side Project. Anyway.
Oh, no. Oh, I think you and I talked about it, but I'm not involved in anything like that.
That's probably a name that needs some revisiting.
Yeah, that's not very good.
Yeah, I think it's like a placeholder because it was their side project originally. Anyway, so while I was asleep last night, there was an upgrade because the network was halted. Right, there was some problem that they were fixing, and it was halted, needed an upgrade. Anyway, so they did the upgrade while I was asleep. They just do them
on brand.
Yep. One of those. They're like, oh, we'll do one. Off it goes. And the little side process was upgraded as well. Anyway, I'd been asleep, didn't upgrade. And yet I didn't miss any blocks at all, even though the network kept chugging along.
Like it just kept using the same binary?
My node wasn't running. But when you look at the missed blocks for the network, I didn't miss any blocks.
How does that happen?
Someone posted up, like, you got the PV top addicts out there.
Yeah.
Who have to post the PV top to show that they've, got the little green fucking dot. Anyway, I had the little green dot.
You did? You signed that? I
don't know. Do I have another node running somewhere auto upgrading? Am I just wasting my time? I don't fucking know. But anyway, I found
that was only during the stall while I was getting consensus, or that was after the chain was moved?
No. And then like afterwards, like I upgraded about 6 hours later when I woke up, and
still fine.
Yeah, still getting information from the RPC. I checked the node. It's not jailed. So
How does
I
that
don't
work?
know. Yeah, fucking good question. Don't
So
know.
it's Tendermint based. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a Cosmos SDK thing.
Is it? And what about and the execution layer too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The only
Oh.
thing, it's just got a module and a sidecar, I think, for the
Hmm.
the Bitcoin stuff.
Is it because you're using the new Cosmostation tool set that they keep pumping in every freaking channel I'm in?
Oh my fuck, Cosmostation.
Well, they have I think they launched. There's a monitoring thing, which just looks like it's a Grafana structure. Is all it looks like. There's a thing.
Yeah,
don't know.
so it's like it's on a Cosmostation domain, and it's fucking Grafana.
It is Grafana. Like, but
to
it
be
looks like
fair,
there's more
though,
bunch of stuff in there. Yeah.
I guess they've made like an exporter of some description.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like either Python or maybe a Go-based exporter or something like that.
Yeah, I mean they shared the code, so I just haven't looked at it.
Yeah.
But I did find it quite interesting that they were sort of getting a block by block representation. I found pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Because normally, like Grafana and Prometheus stuff is bucketed. So I don't know if they're getting the information from maybe like a different type of DB instead of the standard Prometheus stuff. Because you can pull information from tons of different shit on Grafana, right? It's not, you don't just have to get it from
like a
Prometheus.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And
I mean,
Prometheus is
they're
like
doing
a time based thing.
yeah, but you could still do it. Yeah, I guess the question is, would you show it block by block? Like, would you do it block based? Yeah, I guess that's a good.
Well, they're presenting the information block by block,
They are.
which I found interesting. So that's
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much in it. It's just basically fucking
Right.
tender duty in Grafana. But
yeah. Well, actually,
found it
but the alerting was pretty basic. I mean, it's not so much the visualizations like that. We've been on this before. It's the alerting that's really
alerting sucks in Grafana.
The alerting is really the thing. But that tool, whatever that tool, the other tool that I thought was way more interesting was the upgrade handler tool. Did you take a look at that as a Cosmostation or as the Cosmovisor replacement? That was actually really interesting. I started getting involved in that and read it a little bit. So it's basically like a Cosmovisor. They do everything in Docker, so it doesn't really work for us. But it is
Is this Cosmostation?
Yeah.
Has done this? Okay.
Yeah. But it's a Docker manager. I forget the name is like, it's not Blast. It's something like that. I don't know what the hell it is. I'll think of it. Something I might know. But it's basically a Docker manager. It has, I think, a local database that might be in Postgres or something else, and also that can communicate with a centralized database. And that centralized database has a UI on it, like a web page UI. And so what it will do is it will pull off chain the open votes or things related to an upgrade, and allow you to put in a URL for the actual binary or other types of things, right? That has or the appropriate GitHub tag or commit. And then I think behind the scenes, they must have something else that does the actual Docker creation for that specific tag, right? It might have something that goes and just pulls it and builds it. But then you can see what nodes are staged. You can cancel an upgrade. You can, there was actually like a little cool UI around it. So I think they use that to be able to manage across the fleet. And it was more than I thought it was. So it replaces Cosmovisor. Because I guess in the Docker world, you really don't have a good Cosmovisor replacement. The ones that we've actually seen, people either run manually, which is not really Cosmovisor replacement, or we have seen, like, we work with a couple chains that actually build the Cosmovisor upgrade into the next version of that binary. So like if we're on version 9, they'll publish version 10, which we can run at any point, because in that container is both 9 and 10 with a version of Cosmovisor that's waiting for the 9 to 10 upgrade. And that's all it's waiting for, which actually isn't it's not a bad solution. It's just a matter of, like, it's kind of a pain in the ass. And it's very one by one. You can't really, it's difficult to take that and like build that for every chain.
Also, I mean, I guess I guess that's because the reason you can't do it more seamlessly is because of the upgrade semantics in the protocol of
That's right.
The way Tendermint works. Because otherwise, if it was just a rolling upgrade, you could just be like, fuck it, let Docker handle it.
They just let it go. Yeah.
Which you get with the upgrade semantics of some other smart contract VMs, I guess.
Sure, and also like Ethereum and things like that, where you're really running a binary before the hard fork. You're not, the binary itself isn't the hard fork, right? So
Yeah, you run a binary with the new version of the code ready to go, and then it hits the point, and then
you basically, and then if you're not on it, you hash out, right? But if you are, then it goes, or it just actually that code has stuff in there to say this is the major version that we're on, and this is the code major version. And once that code major version goes, it recognizes that the running binary does not meet the code needs, and so therefore it stops. Is really what it does.
yeah, it's in the
It's a little bit more.
It's in the block metadata or something, isn't it?
I don't know, or it might be something on chain. It's calling. It might be a something
There's
like that.
because there are also hooks, aren't there, in Ethereum that operate in a slightly different way. I'm not deeply versed in the internals of it. I just know that there is some way that it can indicate what version, what we would maybe call invariance in Cosmos, like the correctness, essentially the correctness around the version to use. One of the things is just straight up the version, right? That's the same in Cosmos.
Yeah.
The first invariant check is what version is the binary reporting, and that happens in Ethereum as well. It
does
operates in a slightly different way.
And then they I think in this one they also well, the one that we were talking about, they also move like where the upgrade structure is set, since usually that Cosmovisor upgrade file that would be part of the upgrades tree, but that wasn't have any state to it in a Docker container. So I think they move that into the config folder or something, to where the upgrade JSON file is, like whatever the hell they do. There's some rigmarole there. But that Cosmovisor upgrade thing is interesting. It'd be interesting there's some parts of that, like, I mean, the Docker piece of it, we've thought about migrating to that, but I don't really know if there's any benefit to it the way that we're structured. But
Cosmovisor really ain't broke. Like,
it's not broken. Yeah, I agree. I mean, from that perspective, to have a single pane of dashboard, which is we were talking about, that might be a Zabbix solution, but we were talking about a way to see what is coming, what nodes are staged, and then have control over that from a central location. And we're just doing that through like Zabbix and maybe some sort of Ansible automation of some sort, which is basically what they're doing. They're just doing it in this kind of structure. It was difficult to tell if each node had a database. Like, I don't want to run that shit. And like all that kind of shit. That's too much.
Kind of shoehorning in like some fucking like Docker as well. Like, I don't want to run
agreed.
Shit in Docker.
Yeah, agreed.
It's not my thing. There's also like for alternate solutions, there's also the Strangelove Cosmos -operator,
right?
Is like a Kubernetes based contraption they've built, which it's got some good features as well. I read the docs on that.
I don't think there's no upgrade. I mean, all that upgrade I think is manually still run though, right? There's no centralized management of that. It's just container management, right?
There is centralized management of upgrades in that.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. So they had in their road. Hey,
is it the command and control is using Kubernetes rolling restarts or something like that, right?
Not sure how it works, but they had on their roadmap to do like auto upgrades, and I asked Jack Zampolin about it, and he said that it had already been implemented and that the docs are out of date. So, cool. But the reason I was asking them is because I wanted to pick their brain about like how exactly they're getting the binary versions for their upgrades. And I never got to the bottom of that, but apparently it's implemented. Hey,
what do you mean how they get the binary versions?
Well, I mean, they're not in the governance. The binary versions aren't in governance. So I just wanted to know where they were like scraping that information.
Well, it must be that the upgrade info.json has optional fields, and some chains include that information and some don't, right?
Yeah, but if you're making a ubiquitous tool, they're either maintaining a DB somewhere or they're getting it from somewhere.
Or if that's not contained, or it's automatic unless there's no upgrade info specified version, in which case you just halt and wait for an input.
Well, I mean, it is somewhat taboo in Cosmos to just use that binary direction from the info. Like, people don't like to do it and are shunned for doing it. So
shunned.
Sage is there for a reason, but I appreciate that a lot of people don't do it.
From a validator perspective,
never
people
did.
are staunch build your own fucking binary guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
no one checks the code.
I know. Those two go hand in hand, though.
Well, so look, all right. Nobody checks the code. That's what I believe we in the
Yeah, but they're like, know what you're building.
in the
no
biz
one
we
checks
call
the
a very strong statement, and I think I'm going to have to see your field work on that. No,
Not nobody.
On what?
not
Can we
no.
agree, can we agree that it's less than 50%?
What I can say is, having done a little bit of field work on whether or not anybody does check the code, you would
Dude.
be surprised. People do check the code.
I'm
I would be
sure that
surprised
As
if
Usurper
people
says,
didn't bullshit in your fucking
yeah,
little
exactly. Who the
thing.
fuck? Yeah.
I'm a fucking good validator. I check everything.
well, actually, what we found was that overwhelmingly people put that it was the expectation that they check the code, but
Yeah.
were honest about the fact that they didn't.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, the point
take
is that Usurper is correct. It is less than 50%.
But I would say there is definitely more safety on a commit, and that commit, which should be really part of a Cosmos SDK governance proposal, like that field should be added. I'm not sure why it hasn't been changed, but that is something that should be, I think, part of that prop. But for us to be able to build off a specific commit, I think that has a little bit more safety to it than just a binary that could be hosted anywhere. And that binary might be hosted on GitHub, which, okay, I'm with you. There's verified builds within there, but not always. Like I've seen them stored in Google Cloud before. We've seen them like I think the Injective team does something similar to that, or maybe not Injective. One of these chains does, where they host them someplace else. And that I don't really like. Like I don't really. I mean, we don't use binaries anyway, but
if anything, if you're building automation around automatic upgrades and you're using some such field, it should have a check to make sure that it's coming from GitHub and the official repository.
I mean, or like, I mean, they could even put a SHA-256 in there as well. Like, there's lots of ways to be able to do some sort of binary matching to say that this hasn't been tampered. Or, I mean, isn't Gitopia do this? Or there's somebody who did where you could actually call an endpoint on chain to get the hash of the version that's coming. There was something on that. Like it was maybe it wasn't outside of Cosmos.
That does ring a bell, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember where the hell it was. Like that idea, like why wouldn't that be? I mean, that seems like something that would be good too. Like here's the commit hash. That commit hash it could be part of governance, which should be fine, or there's a SHA that goes with that, or something else where you can do some verification. Not that people would, but at least it's there, right?
Well, okay, right. I say, and let's go with another hot take. Having now thought about it a lot, talked to a bunch of people, dug around in the guts of Tendermint, dug around in the guts of other consensus systems, found out how all this bullshit works on Aptos and to a lesser extent on Ethereum, enough that I could say something about it, although I still don't know the full internals of it. I just do not think. I already thought that it was probably not the job of validators to really check the code, other than from a. So I don't think it's the job of validators to check the code, and if your network is relying on that in the long term, you're probably not going to make it. That would be that's a strong statement. I'm prepared. I'm going to throw it out there. But I would, and I'm also going to back that up with, I was reading a paper this morning. Imagine, anyway, by Budish, Lewis Pye, I believe, and Rough Garden. Very good paper. An old friend of the podcast, Ben2X4, from JUNO Swap, had recommended a different paper by Budish. Which essentially it shows that the amount of economic security you need to secure a permissionless low trust blockchain scales linearly with the value of the chain. So that presents some real fucking problems about ever truly securing one of these things at scale. I obviously love it because I've been writing a paper or a couple of papers basically intuiting that same theory from the other angle, right? Which is that number one, you don't even know how you're going to be attacked. But number two, it's always going to be profitable to attack you past a certain point. But also, your security only works if you're profitable past a certain point. So it's kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's an inherent failure, which is that either you're so valueless or so worthless as a blockchain, like you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, I'm worthless. There's nobody will attack you, or you're worth something and somebody will attack you. And there's always a way of doing that that's not very expensive. Anyway, the point is that the reason that even works is economic security, right? This is what all these networks rely on. They rely on this idea that it's too expensive to attack the chain, right? And so what Buddish did is essentially prove that it's not too expensive to attack the chain. And it follows on from, I want to say it's Bohm. Like a very, very long time ago, there was like somebody who just did like a straightforward like bit of economic analysis where they said, well, you can always make money if you take over the entire chain. So actually you can just take over a proof of stake chain. It's just whether you've got enough cash. That's it. Beginning and end, done. And they're kind of right. But the Buddish thing that's different, right, is saying that, well, the reason it's not profitable to do so is collapse of the asset, right? That's the variable that matters, right? Which again, this is a result we've all intuited. Like all of us know this. We all know this, but like somebody actually describing it with mathematical and economic rigorousness and going like, here is a result with an equation that is provable.
Yeah.
Is interesting. And so the Rough Garden paper is like the computer science equivalent of that economics paper. It's got the same co-authors, right? And they basically say that, look, okay, and the interesting thing about it is it has Tim Roughgarden as one of the authors. Now, anybody who's listened to this podcast for a very long time, we're talking 2 years, will know that we have at multiple times recommended the Tim Roughgarden lectures for anybody who wants to get a good idea of how these consensus systems work under the hood, because Tim Roughgarden has his lecture notes from the series that he used to teach on consensus systems live on YouTube. You just go and watch it, the whole courseware. And one of the systems he looks at in a great deal of detail is Tendermint, right? As an example of what, I think when he first started teaching that course, which I think it was in 2019 or so, Tendermint was like one of the kind of newest generation of consensus systems. And also it has this lineage going all the way back to PBFT, which obviously has a rich computer science heritage. So anyway, it's interesting, of course, that Tim Roughgarden, who's very familiar with Tendermint, is one of the co-authors of this paper. So what you find is there's this paper that has quite a focus actually on Tendermint, and it essentially describes like whether or not an attack on finality, right, is cheap or expensive. And the property they say that is desirable in these systems that we've built, these blockchains, right, is that the blockchain be expensive to attack in the absence of collapse of the asset, right? Which they abbreviate to EAAC, right? That's the thing to kind of remember and take away. But the point is that the majority of these blockchains, they argue, only don't get attacked at the moment because they are expensive because of collapse, right? That the whole thing will fall down if the attack is carried out successfully. It doesn't matter how the attack is carried out successfully. They really, really focus on kind of like a voting attack followed by a double spend attack. But I guess my focus is kind of governance attacks, and that sort of thing, or rewrites, or validator set collusion and that kind of thing. Like mine's a bit more woolly and kind of humanities degree, I suppose, in the sense of like the way I think about the cybersecurity threat. I think about the cybersecurity threat as people, because that's what I always think of. And then the way that they execute it is via computer science, right? They subvert a consensus mechanism or a protocol isn't quite designed right or whatever. Anyway, so the end result of this anyway is that they say, okay, well, there's actually a way you can design systems that are expensive to attack in the absence of collapse. But yeah, so anyway, like that's basically it. That's the beginning of it. There's this property of these blockchains that we all know about because we figured it out. We've seen it in the wild, and some people have come up with some papers that kind of cover it, and it's cool. And thanks to Ben2x4 for bringing them to my attention, and I've been enjoying reading those.
So So what you're basically saying is I don't need to read the upgrade code.
Yes. So the
All right.
point is,
Okay.
the point is that the only reason the blockchain is safe is because the asset will collapse. That is actually the core fundamental reason why it's safe. And if the asset collapses, it's because of a trust problem, right? And it's because somebody's violated the trust of protocol, which
Right.
is kind of like credit failure. It's like a bank run or a credit failure or something like that, like credit being withdrawn. So anyway, TLDR, if you're a validator, probably don't check the code. And there's an equation or two that might be used to justify that position. So there you go.
All right. There you go. And
That's-
null left.
Nol's like, wait, I don't need to check this code. Do I even need to run this validator?
It's just because he's a bad planner.
Just automate it. Just automate it.
No,
It's interesting. He was talking about the Kubernetes thing, right? Do you reckon that Strangelove is still running?
Oh yeah, they do.
Because I mean, they can be running Kubernetes on their own hardware, of course, but they're probably not running that.
No, it's all GCP.
It's still all GCP.
Yeah, I think it's all GCP. Yeah, because I think when I talked to him, well, I guess it's been a while. It was like earlier this year, but it was definitely all GCP still then. Yeah, so I think it's all GCP. Like
How can it all be GCP? That is really expensive.
It depends. It depends on exactly what they're doing with that and the specs of that, and also if they take on a certain number of compute for 2 or 3 years, with a commitment, it's really not that bad. Like it starts to really go down. It's really the shorter length commitments that get really
to be fair, GCP. Do you know what, that is one way in which I've heard GCP is like so much better than AWS.
Same thing. I mean, they all are that way, but I mean, you like AWS, you do like a 3-year.
Yeah.
You have to pay it up front. You have to commit though.
Yeah. AWS, you have to commit up front. Whereas, so GCP, from my understanding of their billing model, right, you just keep running that thing and they start applying the discounts as if you committed to it. Past a point.
I have no idea.
I believe they do. I believe they do.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody at a conference last week that was saying that they'd moved infrastructure for their company. They didn't run or own the company. They were like a CTO there.
Yeah.
It was not their money. They have a board breathing down their neck about saving money. And one of the things they'd done was move to GCP because they said, well, we still don't know what our allocation or whatever will be, but we know that if we end up running it for longer, we will get these discounts. Now, I don't know their billing model in enough detail to know if there's caveats or if you have to tick a box somewhere or how that actually threshes out. I can only report what I was told, but they said essentially they didn't have to think about how long they were provisioning a thing for. They just spun it up, and at some point they would get a discount. And it was not insubstantial. And so I was like, interesting.
Yeah, it's usually like 60 or 70%. Like it
I mean, substantial
discount. Like it goes down a lot.
Whereas it's really AWS is, you have to jump through a lot of hoops. You got to give them a case study and you got to pay up front.
No, it's the same. Like they do discounts based on month to month with a commitment, and also pay up front with a commitment. Obviously, pay up front higher. But like I think the biggest thing is just the pay as you go, because it keeps getting higher and higher. Like all this on demand pricing is just getting insane. Like we use it for some like databases and other types of stuff, and all that stuff is just getting really expensive for very little when it comes to on demand. So I mean, they're really trying to force people into longer agreements. And now there's a whole services businesses that's built around like trying to get, cloud computing costs down based off agreement strategy and those types of things. We actually use one called Vantage that actually does a pretty good job, which is it's a cloud service that hooks up gets read-only access to bill details and then does analysis on what you're spending and looks at a few key indicators and says, hey, do this plan. Like if you're planning on keeping this around for 6 months or whatever, let's do this plan and you'll lower by 33%. So we do every once in a while, we run those, which is pretty interesting. There's a whole, some strategy around that too. So
it doesn't surprise me there. I mean, like it's still traumatic to talk about how much we spent on AWS in the various years.
Yeah,
in the height of the Cosmos years and whatever, but like we absolutely had we not been running around, or had I not been running around putting out fires here, there, and everywhere with all of the Cosmos drama and all of the other shit, yeah, I mean, given that almost all of that other stuff that occupied 95% of my time actually wasn't bringing in much or any money, really should have spent more time on putting things like billing analysis in place for our AWS account, because could have saved probably thousands of dollars.
Yeah, well, there's so much. I mean, there's so much cash flowing at that point, though. But I mean, right now, even though prices are looking better, although since we've been talking, we got a little red wave.
They're going red.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
It's the Game of Nodes effect.
Bitcoin hasn't lasted 94,000 for that long, so it's down 2% in the last hour. But I mean, everybody's taking profits, which they should. To be honest, like some of these, I mean, most of these, Bitcoin has been pretty crazy in terms of percentage, but some of these other ones have been pretty high percentages over the last week or two, Aptos included. And I think people are just taking profits associated to that. So we don't have anything to sell, but
I mean, I thought of selling some Aptos, to be honest, at the price we've seen in the last week, but then I also noticed that another one of those BlackRock thingamajiggies has extended to Aptos, and I thought, I think there's probably more to come.
Yeah, I saw there's an announcement today or something, wasn't there, or something related to that?
Last couple of days, yeah, maybe it was yesterday. I thought, I mean, it's like anything else. Like, there's a balance to be struck between where we were in JUNO, where we restaked almost everything and therefore lost almost everything. It's like, cool, you've restaked everything. You didn't rug retail, but now you have like 100,000 JUNO after all of the what's it called, commission and everything, and all of the staking rewards for 3 years and whatever. It's like, cool, you've got 100,000 JUNO, it's worth like $5,000 or something. Like, cool, okay, whatever. There's a balance between that, having 100,000 of something that's not worth anything. It's not worth anything relative to its historical peak, and having like 5-10k of a token tucked away and being like, if it drops below this price point, just sell it so that you leave with something. I think that would be
or the opposite, which is keep 10% sitting around in case something goes absolutely apeshit, and the rest of them you either sell off, or as you think it's needed, or pull commissions when you think it's needed, and take profits like when you can. Because I mean, honestly, like, trying to guess tops or bottoms in this fucking thing is ridiculously fruitless, right? So it's better just to DCA out.
I mean, I think you just have
things as they happen.
I mean, we've talked about it before as well. You have to DCA out purely because the whole market is so based on novelty. The only certainty really is almost that all of these tokens are going to go to zero. And I think the one thing all of us in the Cosmos, not everybody, but I think most people in the Cosmos were a little bit blindsided by, was number one, the speed at which these tokens can degrade, and number two, like I think everybody's mental model of like, this thing was $20 and now it's worth almost nothing, meant that I think a lot of people didn't sell at, say, $1 and realized and realized what was, to be fair, quite a healthy amount in sort of like actual cash on the table. Like, we could have realized like a year of runway or something if we had sold it at a reasonable time. Instead, didn't. And that's a mistake, but that's also fine. We still, I think, came out okay overall, despite all of the shenanigans, which I know is not the case for some people, so can't really complain, right? But
and I think that was, you get a little starry-eyed on some of that stuff and wanted to do well and blah blah blah. And I totally agree. Like, I mean, Atom being at $42 or whatever the hell it was, and
it's crazy, isn't it?
And it dropped.
It's crazy to think about hindsight.
Yeah, it was down to $20. People are like, why the fuck would I possibly sell this at $20? Well, we've been under $20 since April of 2022, so 2.5 years, and we're at $5, which is actually pretty good, since it was down like, it was like 370 or something.
Yeah,
it was pretty brutal. Like,
it was in a bad spot. Like
Sweet,
it's one of
sweet.
those things. I know I've said it before on the polo, but like it is genuinely bizarre
Yeah.
to think back to what the vibe was like in when it was the end of October, so just after mainnet for Stargaze and Juno.
That was good times.
End of October, when there was Cosmoverse in Lisbon.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I think back to that. And I think back to the conversations I had and the things I saw, people I talked to, and it just doesn't feel real. Like it just genuinely is baffling.
For sure. Yeah.
Because you look at like where Cosmos is now, where there is, most of the OG tokens are not coming back, and we talked about it before. Like there's still energy behind Tendermint and IBC in some quarters, but like
There's new projects, new ideas, blah blah blah, new opportunities.
There's some new things, but like there isn't the energy. Like it's that vibe. There's no vibe. There isn't a strong vibe in the Cosmos anymore. Maybe that's just about the Cosmos and the builders are still there somewhere. But we've seen a lot of validators that we knew exit as well, or at least wind down, or keep running nodes but go back to day jobs and whatnot. And I think that's probably true more or less across the board, like for builders as well as for validators and other people. And it's kind of wild to think just how short in some ways that period was between essentially October 21 to the wheels coming off in properly in May 22. It's like almost exactly to the day, a 6 month with a peak in sort of March. I think Prop 16 caught the absolute tip. But that fall was coming a month later anyway.
Yeah. But even this year, I mean, Adam's floated between $11 to $14.19 this year in March, which is pretty high, and a low of 370, something like that, 390, 380. And now we're up 50. So it's down 100% this year, even in this year, which actually, in the grand scheme of things, has not been a bad year compared to at least last year.
It's kind of wild to me that Atom was able to get back up to 15. Like, and that's
yeah. It's had some good spikes this year. $14.
I mean, it's sort of, I guess it's name recognition, isn't it, to some extent? But like, not financial. I don't remember why. Not financial advice, but there are other tokens out there that aren't getting that kind of positive price action that I'm surprised by because they've come along more recently.
Yeah, and kudos to buyers who are buying Atom at 380 or even now at 506. Like, you got steel nuts, man. But 380 to 5, I mean, 380 selling at 5, that's a hefty profit if you want to, you know what I mean? Like 370 or 380.
Atom is a top 4 to 500 coin, says Rama in the comments.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Wild times. But yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be. I kind of think that like. Okay, this is not financial advice. I've got a good feeling about next spring to summer, right? and that's not just because I went away on my wellness retreat and then came back with a new live, laugh, love attitude. I didn't put crystal balls up, but I didn't do crystal therapy or whatever it is, where you put a crystal ball inside you. It kind of just feels like, well, look, this bear market's been a heck of a. It's been a minute. I don't know. I'm kind of low key interested to go back and see in the conferences in the spring, like what the energy is. Is it just gonna be more fucking KYC and stable coins? Because if so, fucking kill me.
Oh, it totally is.
Come on, you got to believe. No, we got to believe there will be something more interesting. Come on.
Have you heard about restaking?
Oh fuck, restaking! If that's the next hype cycle, if that's the next hype cycle, then that's it. I'm out. I'm fucking done. Restaking is stupid. Restaking is stupid, and it doesn't do. If anything, I'm almost certain it makes all the problems that I was talking about earlier worse. But I lack the mathematical or economic knowledge to be able to go away and prove that. But I can intuit that it will be bad for stability. Fucking A.
You don't lack an opinion, though.
Yeah. Hey, man, look, strong opinions weakly held. That's
right.
what they say, isn't it? About technical leadership.
It's like our local Karen. Oh man, I fucking heard a Karen starting up yesterday when I was in the local, Kmart. Fucking hilarious. Just a side.
A
An
what?
aside. A Karen. It's like, your Walmart or whatever. It's like, just a department, like a cheapish department store.
Yeah.
And there was this fucking Karen, man. She started up giving like this poor dude just the hardest time. I'm going to call the fucking head office and ask him about this. He's like, I don't give a fuck. Go your hardest. He's like, that's our store policy. Other stores do this. He's like, okay, not this one.
Like, not here.
Yeah, not here. I said loudly, I said, look, Kelly, it's a fucking Karen.
Did you get yelled at?
A Karen in the wild. Did I get yelled at? No, but she did fucking snarl at the guy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Karens don't want any real conflict. They're like, I just want to pick on a fucking dude whose job it is to listen to my bullshit.
That's true.
Yeah. So anyway, restaking. There's a lot of that going on at the moment.
Mm.
We were talking about what we expect to see at conferences in the spring. What do we reckon there?
Will you be going to conferences in the spring?
I think next year. I say that at the end of every year, though. But I think I'm going to do a little bit more next year. I think we might switch it up, too. I think we might skip some ones that we've done in the past.
Yeah, man. Fuck the ETH whatever in
Denver.
in the Americas. And come over this way. Come to Asia.
Yeah.
Asia's later in the year. I'd be over there now if it weren't for the new fella.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think we might switch it up too. Maybe a little bit more ECC and DevCon and stuff like that.
I'm doing ECC. That's the
you
plan.
are. Are you gonna do that money thing again? Did you do that this year? You did, right?
I did money. Yeah, and saw Artifact. It was fucking shit. Like it was cool.
They're
to hang with the Artifact crew.
Yeah.
But it was all fintech, and it was talk to Artifact about it, see what they think. Because my vibe was like, but also to be fair, I had a fucking 3-month-old. I was so exhausted that I could have had a business opportunity fucking staring me in the face, and I'd have been like, huh, who are you? What the fuck? But my general vibe was it was just there was nothing there that really seemed to benefit from a networking perspective or even kind of an awareness perspective. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, it was just being the ugly one at the party.
Sure.
And there are people in my vibe with Money 2020, right? Is it's people who work in or around financial services, and they get to go because it's a free jolly.
Yeah, right.
Of course, right. But there's no, I'm sure there are decision makers there. I'm sure there are people who are useful to connect with, but it's not, you'd have to shoot a shotgun into a room of people to get a single bit of buckshot in somebody that you actually wanted to hit, and it is also huge. It's huge and incomprehensible as well. So it was good in the sense that obviously we had literally a client with a side event. Well, not a client, but we had a network that we operate on who had a side event, and that made it worth doing. But the main event was just a wash.
Sure.
There was a bit of stuff where it was just like, oh, this is kind of interesting to see that they've obviously spent $1 million on that stall, and there were a couple of blockchain networks there being like, we're the future of real world assets or whatever. And you're like, okay, cool. You just spent like $2 million to tell a bunch of middle managers at banks who are not in the space. That cool. I guess you guys must have a lot of money, but it wasn't like, I would go to, I think the best bet is to still go to blockchain dedicated stuff, because it's just you're going to be in front of people. You don't have to have the same fucking conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the other thing I've been thinking, like, because I've done a bit of networking, a bit more networking, which I know I've been mentioning like a fucking boring guy on this recently. But like again, a lot of that is like kind of more traditional fintech stuff, and that's very hit and miss. Like it's all very, very long play stuff where you're just basically trying. You're talking to people because at some point you're going to talk to somebody who has an interest in what you do, and they'll mention you to somebody else who might be useful, right? That's how all networking works. And you might be able to help them and they might be able to help you. Cool. But it's going to be like via one step of remove. But even in those situations, like a huge amount of the time, you're trying to explain. I don't know. Like, it's not like people don't understand what crypto is and what you can do with it now. Like it's just that the use case that's going to allow you to work together with somebody is still super fucking unclear.
Sure.
And so you get right. Okay. In a nutshell, is that in a lot of scenarios, crypto is boring now. That's it.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing all those guys are talking stables and they're talking the same shit we've been making fun of.
Yeah, exactly. So you're kind of like, oh yeah. You know, not only do you work in crypto, and they're like, yeah, stable coins. Yeah, I know. And you go like, oh well, mainly we're on the infrastructure side, and they go, yeah, okay, cool. So even fucking nerdier and more boring. Great, fucking amazing. Because we're going to go and get into infrastructure, the least profitable bit of it. No, we're going to go and launch a stable coin because that's profitable. So you're kind of like in the, you know, in traditional fintech circles that you're just like, they're like, cool, you have no knowledge that we care about because we're going to pay somebody else for that consultancy. We'll pay one of the big four accounting consultancy firms to find dredge up an intern who can tell us what Ethereum is. You know,
you're never going to run nodes for those teams anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you're as an infrastructure provider, you're not doing anything for that. Unless and you're not going to be, clearly you don't want to get into the business of
and you know, the other sort of stuff we do, which is all kind of on the smart contract development side, like obviously again they're going to go to, you know, McKinsey or whoever.
Sure. Yeah.
So you're just like, well, look, you know, a lot of the way this stuff works in the wild is like small businesses and small technology companies who are providers, and that's, you know, broadly covers all of us independent validators, right? But you can't. You not only can you kind of not play at the big table, but also it's just not even the same. You're not even in the same business, really.
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of cross purposes. So whereas if you go to like an actual crypto conference where it's at least you're just going to encounter lots of people who understand, oh yeah, fine, you can actually run a pretty big validator company on 5 people. Yeah, okay, fine. So that's credible. It's all about the credibility of your work or whatever it might be. And like it's just a very different it's a very different vibe when people understand how different the sector is, I suppose, in terms of like what expectations around everything are. Maybe would be my the long and short of it anyway is that ETHCC is in fucking Cannes and it's in the summer and it's going to be
is it?
Yes, it's in the French Riviera in the middle of summer. It is also crucially the week before my holiday, which is also in France, to go and watch the Tour de France and then go do some shit in France. So I'm like, this is great. I get 3 weeks in France.
Oh, this is pretty interesting, actually. So this is the last week in June into the 1st of July in Cannes.
Oh yeah, baby.
Maybe turn this into a family thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm literally I'm going to go back across France up to Lille to see the first 2 stages of the Tour de France, and then maybe head back to the south of France. It's gonna be great.
That's interesting. Yeah, start putting some dates together on this shit for next year. See what the hell's going on. Be nice.
Yeah, could get some accommodation on the go. I think there's another, from memory, there's another conference around that sort of time in France as well, but I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, one's enough.
One's enough, dear God. Hey, look.
Seriously.
Some of us really shat the bed on doing the right networking last year and really need to get back on the BD in a big way. Back on the horse. Everything is done speed 100 or 0. Like that's
it.
You might have noticed a theme. I'm like, do you remember that? Do you remember when Charlie Sheen went mental in like the early 2010s and he was like, he was like, I have 1 speed, go.
Fucking tiger blood.
Exactly. That's the energy I'm going for.
All right.
Did you say go or blow?
Go. Epic winning.
Yeah.
Do you remember? And do you remember there was the song?
Whatever it takes.
There was the song where it was like, "Are you bipolar? I'm by winning. Win here, win there, win, win everywhere, winner." Do you remember that?
No.
It was just like it was just his voice auto tune basically with all the insane stuff he said, and it was like awesome. I'll find a link for this show notes. I can't even remember who made it, but I know I'm gonna have it in my head all week if I listen to it again.
There's a shitload of planning already for this conference in June of next year.
Yeah, I mean
What
that's
did you say
already
the
happened.
name of it was?
It's crazy.
ECC.
What was the name of that conference? Oh,
This is
ECC.
Yeah, yeah.
ECC.
Where is it this year? Did you say? France.
France. I love this.
That's too far away. Fuck
Pretty-
that.
Dude, everything's far away. What do you want? Come on.
I want
You're
some
gonna have to-
shit in Brisbane. The
Other than-
epicenter of crypto.
Other than me coming there and sleeping on your couch, that is literally the only thing that's probably going to happen.
Welcome anytime. I got a lot of gardening that needs doing. You can help me.
This is fucking. Go cut that for me. You're tall.
We can
You're
start
tall.
a JV.
Get those high
and
branches.
Hey,
You're
yeah.
tall. Go get those high branches.
Sit on my shoulders and get that high shit. Yeah. You'd crush me. You're a fucking.
That's funny. Yeah,
Doesn't look
I know
like too bad.
there's so much in Asia. I mean, I understand. There was so much in AP this year, both from SmartCon and also DevCon, and just there was so much there.
I saw SmartCon in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it was in Hong Kong.
It's just
It's just-
fucking.
it was just there was like, and they're all like 2 weeks or 3 weeks spread across. Like it's just too much. Like it was just too much. So I was going to go to one of them. I went to none of them, and so maybe next year we'll see kind of where things rotate to.
It's a lot of investment to get out there, isn't it?
It's just
Where?
not so
Well,
much.
it's time as well.
It's not so much the money. It's just the time. It's just the time. Like because you're going for a week no matter what, and then
Yeah.
or more, and it's just such a haul and time zones and everything else.
Also, without like being a fucking killjoy, as somebody who kind of relatively rigorously tries to budget their carbon, I'm like, I basically get one set of long haul flights every maybe 4 or 5 years. Like that's the most I can justify, and it's like that's got to be on a family holiday or linked to a family holiday, and so it has to be like, I don't know, tough times. When it's a really fucking long way away, it is a bit of a.
You fucking what?
I don't
You
think carbon.
budget your carbon?
I don't think carbon matters anymore.
Yeah. We've
decided here.
I don't eat meat basically, other than pepperoni on pizza. I don't own a car, and I don't fly, all for that reason. Like, I'm not telling everybody. Look, I don't fucking tell anybody else like you can't do this, you can't whatever. But
God's work.
look, dude, there's going to come a time when you're going to get asked about it as an old man, and you'll just be like, well,
How much carbon did you save in 2024, you old prick?
well, I'll just
All of it, son. Hey, I've got solar,
All of
man. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
It's
so I've had solar since I bought this house, but it doesn't matter.
Does it do anything?
Yeah, even in the UK, it's pretty substantial in terms of like,
Really?
what it reduces your. Well, so the two things that are big are like obviously reducing the amount you take off the grid, and also insulation is the big thing here, right? Like solar's sexy, but just insulating your house better, like replacing all the windows with double glazed, all that sort of shit. That's like big, right?
You'd be
Yeah,
better off with like 1,000 little hydro turbines on the roof to catch the fucking rain as it comes in.
Yeah, so
you just need
so some little wind turbines some people have that. Also, ground source heat pumps are a thing.
You don't have the room for that though, right? You drill straight down.
You can do that stuff even on. So in the UK, you own the ground under your house, like just unconditionally.
Yeah.
So you can just drill. It's more that the cost isn't worth it.
Yeah, it's
in most
ridiculous.
cases.
Plus, you
Yeah.
got to get a crane in your backyard and shit. Like you're never gonna do it.
You can. I think the rigs that you need are actually like smaller than you might think now. But yeah, it's still relatively uneconomical for a small house.
Yeah.
The payback period is like long, is my understanding.
We have just fuckloads of sunshine here. So actually, Brisbane rains quite a lot, I've noticed.
Yeah.
There's thunderstorms quite often. Last
That's
night,
good.
thunderstorm. Beautiful day today.
Oh,
Keeps
and by the way,
things
so I'm getting
moist.
rinsed in chat by Rama saying can't drive or fly, can't fly or drive a car because of carbon, yet has a bunch of guitars and things behind him.
Yeah,
Almost
Rama's flaming you hard in the comments.
almost everything here is like, at the risk of sounding like the fucking true hipster I am, it's some of it's from before I was born. It's all secondhand. I don't again, I try not to buy things that are not what's it called?
Hip.
Like, I don't try and buy too much new shit. Like there's already you would like you know the fucking rare earth metals in a mobile phone are bad enough, right? Like it's like, you know, I don't necessarily need all that shit. So like I say, it's just it's just my opinion, man. Like whatever.
What's your carbon budget for your cloud services?
Well, we just try.
Do you get a report from AWS monthly, or
They do have reports of that.
yeah?
So actually, I do look into the CSR of the providers we use and try and use any providers that have at least something in the column. But our business is, strictly fucking no ethical consumption under capitalism, right? And the fact that we even run these blockchains is like a massive fucking net negative, right? It's very, very hard to justify, and that's a fair point. And it's one I don't think I can really, the only I think truly ethical response to the sector that we work in would be to not fucking work in it, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, you couldn't work anywhere. You just have to fucking sit at home in a bucket.
No, but this one is especially useless.
This one is especially useless.
You could literally only like work in tree planting.
Well,
as long as you use
tree planting is also a bad example because tree planting doesn't particularly help, but that's a whole other thing.
Ours is
you
especially
could use tools pressed out of dirt.
Well, so in a very limited sense, what you could do is try and make money in blockchain, buy up marginal farmland and take it out of production. That would be actually quite a good use. But
take farmland out of production?
Yeah, take marginal farmland out of production because it becomes a carbon sink.
I don't know what that means.
In the UK, we're obviously we don't have a lot of land, and so we're very big on using marginal or somewhat unproductive farmland, like just bloody mindedly finding a way of making any money off of it. And it's mad because you end up doing loads of farming on land that's actually just not very suited for it, and it's why the Highland clearances happened and all that kind of shit, like the kind of mini genocide in Scotland in would have been the early 19th century. By landowners and all that kind of stuff, because they finally had a sheep that was hardy enough to use on land that previously you couldn't do anything with, and so they went, wow, bam, loads and loads of sheep, and then it just massively degrades the land because the land is basically not suitable for that anyway. But these places the effect of agriculture on them is disproportionately bad, basically, and it doesn't even make much money. So there's a lot of places in England where that is the case, and it results in a big degradation in terms of not only biodiversity, but also it has a knock-on effect on carbon and whatever as well, because you get all these things like peat and whatnot. That's any situation where you're this is a place where the land would just be doing its thing. In general, it turns out those are the kind of places which are capturing carbon and kind of trying to keep a lid on the thing. And if you're just no, I must fucking graze my 5 sheep in this 1 kilometer of land, 5 sheep can do a lot of damage to even a wide area. And it's just you're not making any money off of it. But that's a whole other, that doesn't really, that's whatever, man, Hey.
Jeez, we got deep there.
Yeah.
Fucking picking on 5 sheep.
My other half is also used to work in food supply chain stuff, and now works in sustainability as well. So this is just via osmosis. I've heard a lot of random things, So
yeah,
end up with opinions because once or twice a year I'm hey, recommend me something that I should read to understand more about the topic. And then you read a book and you're Jesus Christ, my God.
They get pissed off at or feel bad about. What How
Oh my
else
God,
are we
this shit makes
raving
you
in
so
natural
sad.
Earth that I don't know about that'll keep me up at night?
Well, so all right, here's one that really shitted me, right? Like I read like so at the moment I'm reading the Master and Commander series, right? And the descriptions of like the number of birds that there were and shit, like this is something I can't remember what book it was. I was reading like an old book and it described like these big flocks of birds in northern England. And I was like, dude, fucking a big flock, like 100 birds. Are you fucking kidding me? I've never seen, other than pigeons, I've never seen 100 fucking birds together in one go in the north of England ever. And I basically looked it up. So I didn't look it up. I got given a book that I read on essentially biodiversity, and I was like, oh shit! It's literally since the Second World War. Like in Britain, like the bird life population just fucking collapsed because of the way we do farming, essentially. And I was like, oh my god! Like the insane thing is literally in my lifetime, it's decreased massively. So like if I'd gone for a walk on a Sunday as a kid, I'd have seen like way more birds and all that kind of stuff. And it's super bizarre. Like the numbers are really fucking crazy.
Mhm.
Citation needed. A bit less so in other places where they're more land, more wild spaces. It's
Yeah.
really noticeable in France. Actually, you see so many more wild birds, like in the mountains or by the sea or whatever. You're like, wow, bigger country.
It's a wine.
It's the wine. The birds are all pissed, or the people are all pissed. Wait, what was
How
the
do I get this
argument?
fucking topic? Fucking carbon.
I was saying why I was not
Conferences.
going to APAC.
Yeah.
Anywhere in Europe, though. Easy
Anywhere in
get-
Europe?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll figure it out. We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
We said this last year. Although I saw you last year. No.
Yeah. I came to Barcelona.
No, last year. Yeah, 23. I haven't seen you in 24. Right.
Yeah, you
but I
have.
did see Nolan 24. So I mean we're doing 50-50.
I saw you fucking 2 months ago, jackass.
I saw you at the start of the year. You
Oh
clown.
yeah. No, you're right. Right.
April.
I saw both of you this year. That's right. Jesus. I was thinking conferences.
So we had a pizza.
I know we had pizza.
We
No,
had
that's because I was there. No, I was thinking. I was in my head. I was thinking just conferences. I'm like, well, you weren't any of these conferences, but obviously, I saw that.
Yeah. It's a shame because I mean, to be fair, like this is what I mean about like, I like Denver. Denver's great. I would absolutely come to East Denver if I wasn't, beating myself up about shit. So,
Mhm.
hey, what
Get on your bike, start an early fucking bicycle trip. See you in 3 weeks.
Just pay them back. All these airlines offer that. You can go pay those carbon credits back. That's all make believe shit. You can do that.
Scam. It's a scam.
I know it is. I know
It's
it
a
is.
scam. I looked into it. It's a scam.
Apple's doing the same ththing. You could use that. You could do. They can do it. You can do it.
No, it's bad. How many kilometers is it across the sea? Obviously you can't cycle it. I'm not an idiot. I'm aware there's a difference between land and sea.
There is.
Heard
it here first.
I have a friend that sailed across the Atlantic.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Yeah.
I watched a couple of guys who do that, and like, just it just sounds awful.
It just sounds.
4 weeks on this boat in the middle of nowhere. Oh, although now everybody's using. I guess you can use the traveling Starlink now. And you pay a pretty high premium to be not over land because I think there's a smaller number of, I don't know how those satellites work over the middle of the Atlantic. But now at least there's connectivity where in the past you just have like a satellite phone that might do like a small text like here and there, right? So you can just say I'm alive or I'm dead, I'm fucked. But now actually you get some pretty decent bandwidth. You have probably a couple hundred megabit back and forth if you're sitting there watching YouTube all day. So maybe it's better that way.
Yeah.
Or worse, I don't know. Real-time streaming from the middle of the Atlantic.
I mean, that's something you can do.
Could.
Yeah.
You could be on a boat. I mean, you could be on a boat and then just be on your bike on the boat. So it's like you're crossing the Atlantic on your bike. You got to keep you got to keep like a 9-knot, 24-hour a day pace, and just say.
I mean, I think what I really need to do is finish reading the entire Master and Commander series, and then immediately take to the sea.
I fucking hate the ocean, though.
This all got a bit weird. Like I just fucking hate the ocean.
Why do you hate fucking ocean though?
Why do you hate the ocean?
It's too big. It's too much.
It's too much.
It's too overwhelming.
It's got too big for its boots.
Have you ever been sailing?
Yeah. Not I would say nothing more than like 20 miles offshore. Something like that, 20, 30 miles off, which is still pretty far, right? But to be like 1,000 miles offshore,
That's a long way.
that's a long way.
I'd do it.
Yeah?
You do it.
Just to get away from the screaming baby.
Yeah, if I didn't have to be so fucking connected, man, I'd live in a boat if I had the money. I'd just go out there.
There's a bunch of folks that do that, like who might do a crossing or two a year or something like that. It's just like you hear about, like they do videos of it and everything else. There's a couple of guys I watch, and then like I like that idea, and like I actually spend time watching those travels. But man, it's not something I think I could do.
I fucking love sailing. I used to race sail yachts over in WA.
Yeah,
Western Australia. Yeah, when I lived over there,
Wait, when the fuck did you live in Western Australia?
2010.
crazy.
Yeah,
like racing boats or like
like racing yachts. Yeah, it's fucking sick. 2 days a week. Go out for twilight racing on Wednesday and like a ocean race on Saturdays. It's pretty good.
Not bad.
Down the fucking
There's a lot
coast.
of chapters to Noel's life, aren't there?
Yeah, I didn't even know.
Yeah, I used to row
Fucking
as well.
hell.
Like the fucking little boats with those long ass oars, sculls.
Yeah.
I used to row. Competition.
Fair fucks.
Yeah, back when I was fucking.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, back before you became a validator DJ and went to shit.
Back before I fucking drank beer 6 days a week.
Cunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it.
Just over and over.
Well, anyway, ETHCC.
Let's make it happen. Yeah,
Come hang with Game of Nodes.
you just gotta get Null out of the.
Yeah, I'm not going to that
AP.
shit.
Yeah,
I'm not
AP,
going to
that's
that shit. There must be some other conferences as well happening, but yeah, I haven't looked up any others apart from ECC yet. But probably we'll do a couple of others.
I feel like there's a lot of the French validators that don't like me that much, and it's likely they'll be there. So,
I mean, there'll be a lot of people that will be there, not just French validators.
It's only that one anyway, isn't it?
yeah.
There's only one I know of.
It's hard to tell how many.
It's only one I know of.
Yeah. No, it's just too far.
That's funny.
Don't speak the language.
Come back to the US next year? It's
Nah,
closer.
it's too far. No, fuck that. How is it closer? It's the same.
I know.
No, I want to go to Asia next year. I don't want to go to that part of the world. It's too fucking expensive in America now, man. It's just outrageous.
I do want to drag my kids to Asia, but I don't think it's gonna be next year. I think they gotta be a little bit older.
Hey?
I'm gonna drag the family to Tokyo and maybe either that and China, or a China trip, or Tokyo or a China
It's
trip.
a big thing to do over there now, right? Go to Tokyo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, we go all over the place, but I do want to do that. I just don't think they're old enough. Like, I think it'd be kind of.
But like, I think in the last like 3 years, Americans are really like, fuck, let's go to Tokyo.
Direct flights,
Let's go to-
baby,
Let's go to Japan.
makes a big difference.
Yeah, I noticed over in there's this place called Niseko where I used to go snowboarding.
Mhm.
And then like, what is it? The Epic Pass added that mountain to the Epic Pass, and then there were fucking Americans everywhere.
Is that like something with places here in the US?
No, it's Niseko's the yeah. So the Epic Pass is like it's
I gotcha.
it's like a all mountain pass like around the world.
Yeah,
type thing.
I gotcha. So they
Yeah.
added Japan, and then next thing you know, all these fucking.
So yeah, it used to just be like Australians and fucking Japanese and a few Europeans, and then like there was just everywhere. You couldn't fucking throw a rock without hitting an American.
Just a bunch
And
of
and
bitching
it's
about
you can hear it, man. It just pierces your ears from down there. Oh my god! Look at this fucking fuck off.
I can't
understand
anything.
Yeah. Can't. Wow! Look at this. Fucking. Look, you can eat at the convenience store. It's just fucking everything. And so, like, it just completely ruined that fucking town for me.
I mean, Americans are awful travelers. They're fucking terrible travelers. They are. They look awkward. They act awkward. They're shocked at fucking everything. Like,
Oh man,
they're terrible. They're awful.
do you know
travelers.
what? Do you know what is the worst fucking thing? Is when I go to on campus, and then because it's like dead center of London, and then I have to go to like a meeting or something directly after, and it's like the two nearest tube stations are like probably either Euston or Tottenham Court. Maybe I guess you can go up to Thingy Street as well by the American Church, but like it doesn't take you anywhere, so not useful.
Yeah.
And like the number of times there is somebody in, I know you like ball caps, usurpers. I'm sorry about this, but like a ball cap with like an American ship on the front, and then like that's the bloke, right? And he's got sunglasses on. It's England. You don't need fucking sunglasses.
Yeah.
You don't need fucking sunglasses in November, mate. And then his wife's there, and they are standing fucking side by side on the escalator on the underground. Do you not understand?
That was like number one for my kids. Like,
if you
stay to
do
the
that,
fucking
you
right.
are going
Like,
to
move the
fucking
fuck over.
He's
Yeah.
like, I will.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care if you're 70, lady. I will push you face first down this escalator. This is the Piccadilly line. You learn if you live near London that is 33 meters down.
Just
You are
where
going to go 33 meters to the bottom of this fucking hole. Like
wearing awkward shorts with a tucked in shirt, the whole thing, right? High socks, everything.
Yeah, short sleeve shirt.
Short sleeve shirt tucked in.
Shirt. It was a short sleeve
the shorts, hot
shirt.
Socks are almost touching the knees. Fucking,
you know, he had chinos
riding that left rail. Just like
he had chinos on. He had chinos on. To be fair,
how much is a
trousers? It was one of those. I was like, do you know what? These guys look the same when I used to come to London to see my aunt when I was like 4 years old, right?
Dude, they're the worst.
And I was like, how has the outfit stayed the same for my entire life? Like, that's over 30 years, right? It's still the same outfit at nearly the same tube stop where I used to go, with my aunt. And I see the same fucking guy standing on the left. I'm like, you fucking crazy. This is where you walk. This is where you walk. This is where you walk. I'm gonna have to fucking kill this guy. Like there's like 15 people just going push him.
Yeah, fucking push him. You gotta
push
learn.
him. Welcome to Earth.
You gotta learn. That's why,
like Will Smith in Independence Day.
I mean, that's why we used to drive on the Autobahn, like in Germany, and even this was like 10 years ago, and I would still be scared because we'd be fucking hauling ass on the left, and we have good left right lane management. Don't get me wrong, but the number of cars that would make bad decisions in those situations was bad even then, and I hear it's even worse now, and that could be not necessarily American driving, but you have all sorts of different folks in that don't understand or recognize the rules in those situations. You could fucking, it's easy to get killed in that situation.
Yep.
Riding that left rail.
Just riding that left rail, baby.
Let's go.
Dear. Anyway, yeah. Minor complaint. Anyway, sorry. There's, Americans are lovely people.
They are. They travel horribly though. Like they really do. They like that totally makes sense.
I don't know though. Like whenever you go somewhere in Europe and to just bring everything back neatly to layer cake, because obviously everything is just layer cake. There's that scene where it has like the wannabe gangsters in like Amsterdam, and they're just like, "Come on, Kev, fucking come over here, mate. Have some eckies. Let's fucking go, yes, mate." And like the number of times you're just in Europe somewhere and you just hear some variant of that, and you're just like, I'm not here. Je suis le frais. Je suis le frais. Un homme français.
Aye.
Yeah. Oh man. Just shrink up into a little ball. Anyway, has there been any fucking crypto news other than, Trump won, possibly the end of Europe, end of NATO, but crypto
coins are up.
Coins are up, baby.
They live forever, baby. Bitcoin at 90,000. Let's go fucking go.
Sell before the inauguration when the economy tanks, huh?
It's gonna take a couple of years.
It's gonna take a couple of years. That's the sound of optimism that we like to hear.
It'll take takes a little time for brashness to turn into shit that happened. Yeah, we'll see. No, news are up. I think we did actually have an article from our news researcher this week.
Oh, that might have been me sticking something in.
Is that you? Oh, okay.
Oh, this Vitalia City thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just saw this around. Like I can't remember what linked me to this thing. It's like this. It's a city on a city. I don't know if it's actually a city technically, but I guess you can.
No, it's a physical location.
Yeah. It's on an island in the
It's
Caribbean.
it's in Honduras somewhere.
Is it
But
in
it's like
Honduras?
it's in Honduras. That's what it was. So this thing was like some sort of. I'll put a link in the show notes to a bunch of things. I looked at that today. I read it for like half an hour trying to figure out what the hell was going on. I almost made an account. I almost made an account because I want to see what these things are. But it is a what's the tagline? I forget what the hell the tagline is, but it's a
Making death optional. Making death optional.
Well, that was
the
only
tagline. And of course it involves crypto. And I was like, this is real 2021 vibes. It makes me excited. Maybe there is a bull coming.
But that's only one property as part of the larger thing. But the
I
larger
didn't
thing
go as
idea.
deep as you then. I just read that it was like on an island in the Caribbean that you could buy your spot.
The idea was that it is a location in a city. Well, I think it's
And a
like
state of
a
mind.
resort. It's clearly a state of mind. But the idea was that they're building a new life that has everything from governance to government to taxes, VCs, transportation, healthcare, across the whole board, energy creation, all this type of stuff, where the friction to get things done is gone. And it's an entrepreneurial, blah, 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 create a new way. Let's build a new government type of structure and a new way of doing that. And it seemed like all it was doing was bringing it was like a circus bringing the town. It was like just shenanigan after shenanigan. And I think one of those, not the whole thing of it, was this idea that everybody can live forever, right? And so we want to be able to allow, without FDA approval and all this type of stuff, we're going to work hard to find the drugs so everybody can live forever. That's literally what it was, I think. You're on mute. But yeah, so
I think that was basically it.
Yeah. So because not everything dies, like as we throw that old knowledge out. Everything dies. No way.
All those cryptocurrencies that have died, all the evidence.
Yeah, I don't know how the crypto thing. Well, crypto was a big piece of it too. Because I think
if there's one thing we know in crypto, it's that nothing's forever, dude. Right? Especially if you rug pull the retail investors and then invest the profits in an island nation in the Caribbean.
Yeah, there was, and it was like how to. Yes, it was, and then you had but it's only like $359 to start. You could just do it.
Is it? Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, that's how you become a member. I think it was a member to be able to do that. And then there was like a bunch of things like VCs and all this kind of stuff. But I did find an activity page where it showed like every single post, and it was like over the last 10 years or something, or the last couple of years, 2 years or whatever it was. There's a bunch of posts. It was like the last 30 days, nothing. It was dead. So maybe it's already petered out.
I've just been flicking through the guests for the fireside chats, and I have seen two people that I know to some degree, and one of them is writing about how great it is, and so now I feel weird because this is like the weird because you know when you're like joking about a thing and then you remember that this is like we are so adjacent to this that it's actually like taking the piss out of it. You're a little bit like, am I taking the piss out of myself? Possibly, yes.
Maybe.
Yes. Are we all in on this joke? Is it a joke? Is it performance art? I don't know. I also love how actually I've now opened this website. I didn't scroll down. This is amazing. There's a guy
there's a lot
with a
there.
big banner like answering questions at some kind of an event. And behind him it says, "What is your favorite part of the startup city?" Amazing.
Yeah, Startup City, that's what it was. Yeah. But the whole it's like Vivaldi or something. I forget what the whole thing is called, but it's
Vitalia.
I swear this idea, I was reading this. I fucking swear I had this same idea back in 1995 when I was on mushrooms. I fucking swear I thought about this.
Until you figured out death. You just knocked it on the head.
No, not the death part, but the other part of like, why couldn't we have this thing that comes together and like get rid of all this red tape and like just let it go and see what happens and blah blah blah. And like it was kind of the idea of like I think when Microsoft had a they were putting data centers in containers and burying them at the bottom of the ocean or something like that. I was like, yeah, let's do that, but like let's make a city that has there's a bunch of shit like that. I fucking swear this is the same idea. See, my mind is too tight. Like before I was free, and now this looks silly to me. Maybe we can't beat death, dude. We could live forever.
Dude, they accept fiat currency, and they say they're the city of the future. It says at the bottom of the page.
Hey,
we appreciate donations in fiat. What? No, I'm out. I'm out, man.
Hey, you got to get there. You get baby steps to get there, right? You got to start with something.
They only accept, at least according to the bottom of the page, ERC20 or fiat, which proves more than a fucking shadow of a doubt that Ethereum is the true boomer coin.
Oh, it totally is.
It's literally fiat or ERC20 shit coins. Like, that's it. Those are the two fucking... They're both in ETFs now. It's like using your pension. We will conquer death using the contents of your pension, which is ERC20 coins or fiat currency. Wild stuff.
How much JUNO is it to live forever?
JUNO is infinitely worthless, thus meaning it already lives forever. And most importantly, I haven't got anything else actually on that.
How much JUNO is it to live forever? Dude,
what's that quote about? Like, nothing that's truly useless can be truly beautiful because it has no purpose.
I can't
JUNO proves that is bullshit. JUNO is useless and it is beautiful.
I can't understand anybody who wants to live together forever. That sounds like an awful, awful existence.
Yeah, it's madness, isn't it?
It sounds awful. Like how many Game of Nodes episodes would it be? It would just be forever.
I think people who want to live forever are people who maybe haven't got out enough and certainly have not felt their lower back beginning to go because they've had to pick up a toddler too much. Do you know what I mean?
Everybody on that site is single. There's no doubt about that. That's what's going on. It's 100% like that. You know, if you're paying $359 to be part of a club in a make-believe in a real location in a make-believe land to get rid of governance or government approvals to be able to get to a point where you can live forever, you are single.
So, okay, right, all right. But we were just talking about events to go to next year, Game of Nodes, meetup. I'm just saying, for 2 months in January to February 2025, Vitalia opens its doors with our second pop-up city, giving a 2 times larger community than last time, 1,000+ people, to continue seeding a permanent longevity biotech hub with fresh talent, co-creators, and new friends from around the world. This is the Biotech podcast. We should be there. Game of whatever. Anyway, but the point is, like, we don't know biotech, and we kind of know crypto.
From the beaches in Honduras,
we're 50% there. We're basically bioengineers, and for 2 months we could be on a beach. Earning 20%, we got earning 20% fucking not in this market. But I'm just saying, it technically it's a conference, it's expensible. It's $500. What could go wrong?